Hello, welcome back, or if not, first timers, to the most awkward podcast in history. This is a No Self Control podcast with special guest Lerry Ortega. What's up?
How's it going?
Hey, and then as usual, I got other Rick with me.
Hello.
Nice, thanks. And then first time, oh no, not first time, the second time ever on the
I think it's the third.
podcast,
Mhm.
we got Sam.
Hello.
Hey, so we got some juicy
Hey.
stuff. We were talking about missed opportunities and different stories, and Larry's gonna take it away with a really good story he was telling us. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on here. I'll try to be as juicy and detailed as I can.
As plucked as a berry.
So yeah, I was saying that my guitarist and vocalist for my ex band, he was very chatty with people when he would meet them, and for some reason he would always run into celebrities and rock stars, go on a night out.
Yeah.
And he got the chance to meet Mike Spritzer from Double Driver, which is pretty cool. And he told us, hey, he digs what we're doing and wants to give us a listen and maybe work with us in the future. And
Sick.
I was like, cool. I mean, I'm not a big Double Driver fan, but I know who they are, and I know how much opportunity that could bring for us to work with someone like that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what I was doing the day of, but I know that they invited me to go over to Mike's place, and which is really cool. He actually lives in Torrance, but I think it
Hey.
was like his family house,
What the hell?
and and he has like a little studio in the back part of his house. So it's like we could record guitar, vocals, pretty much everything except drums. And I showed up like maybe an hour after they were already there, and yeah, I walked in and met Mike and said what's up, and he gave us a little tour of the studio, and he was showing us like this unreleased country slash metal thing they were doing. I think it just got released like sometime in the middle of last year,
Uh huh.
and he's like, yeah, we're trying to like get our roots in of like Johnny Cash and stuff like that. It's like very
Nice.
not really metal, but somehow it works. And he's like, you guys want to take a listen? And I'm like, fuck yeah, like let's hear it. And yeah, he played us like one or two songs, and it was no vocals. It was just the music, and it sounded really dope. It was like a really cool combination of like country bluegrass, but with metal and just I don't know, it just worked right, and it sounded really cool. And we just hung out for a bit, and we just kind of talked about how maybe in the future we could see if our music is something that he'd be willing to work with, and maybe possibly record and produce there. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And we were all excited, and everything was kind of like picking up momentum, and we're really hyped to do it. And so we decided to maybe put maybe 8 to 10 songs together, like brand new songs, so we can present it to him. And as time went on, like always, some of us got lazier than others, and it just didn't happen as fast as we could. And we tried to set a goal, and I think out of anyone, I was probably trying to push it, more towards like, hey, we gotta try to meet this deadline of getting these songs done so we can have something to present before the end of the year. And I think this was like, I want to say maybe late 2000, I want to say 19, or yeah, like 2019, somewhere around there, I think.
Wow.
No, it's probably like earlier 2019, and it just never happened, right? And we never got the material ready enough. And unfortunately, my singer is kind of one of those people that wants to have control over everything. So he kind of never really stayed in track and in touch with Mike. And so I was like, hey, so what's gonna go on? Like, are we gonna meet up with him anytime soon? And he's like, oh well, there's just certain ways to do this. You can't like seem desperate, and you can't just hit him up. I'm like, well, yeah, but we're a band who wants to get famous. Like we can't just be sitting around and just hoping that he's gonna help us out one day. We gotta give him some stuff to listen to, and unfortunately, it just kept taking longer and longer and longer, and it kind of just went from we're gonna record it with Devil Driver to he's just there if he's still interested, and we'll see. We finish these songs, we'll see what happens, and it really bummed me out because it's like, well, we can't just have someone there who's willing to do it. Like you can't wait on those things, and because we waited too long, it just never ended up happening, and we just sat on like 8 songs that were almost done with no vocals, and we never even presented to him, not even 1 or 2 songs, because unfortunately, my singer thought that it was best just to wait until it was the right time, which is never is the right time in anything, and especially in the music business. You gotta like kind of hit it hard as soon as you can, because then those people lose interest. And it was like probably a year after we talked to him that we came up with those songs, and we never even finished them because, like I said, sometimes there isn't enough time, but also certain egos get in the way, and that's kind of what led to me leaving. So that's why I left the band, because just stuff wasn't getting done. It was really, really it sucked, man. Trust me, because like I said, I'm not a big fan of Devil Driver, but I'm a fan, and I respect what they do. And so to have that opportunity to work with him, like, would have been great. And just the fact that he's so close. Like, it's not like we're going to, like New York or Seattle or Mexico. Like, he's like literally right here in LA. So yeah, it would have been really, really cool to do. And like I was telling Rick earlier that when I was just walking and just talking like we always do, is that if we would have just presented something, it could have led to somewhere. You can't always expect things to turn out right away. And I think that's what leads to you kind of like not taking that shot, because you just want things to turn out perfect the right time around. It's like that usually is not how it happens, especially in music. Like, how many times bands have like 3-4 demos of the same songs before they actually put out an album? It's like, it's really, really common. But fortunately, it didn't happen. But at least I could say, hey, we almost worked with Mike from Double Driver, and we almost did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing. I mean, we never got to see him again after that. Well, at least I didn't, and I don't know if the guys have kept touch with him after I left the band. But I mean, like, there's a lot of opportunities that we had, like, with certain people, but that was probably one of the more like
prominent,
I guess. Well, not just prominent, but the more likely situations that would happen, because we were like, I literally met the guy, and I know where he. Well, I don't remember where he lives, but I went to his place, and we got introduced, and it was just a matter of us just actually showing them that we're the real deal, but it never happened.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what happens with a bunch of bands in the scene, where they just get discouraged because they can't ever finish anything, and then they just like drop everything?
I think that's human nature, but you gotta kind of like fight through that. And I one of the big things I've always dealt with, even when I like my earlier projects, is that you kind of have to let go of the whole, like, everything needs to be perfect and everything needs to be exactly sound great right away. Or I think people chase that too much. And like I was talking to my luckily I'm really good friends with my ex bandmates from my other band. I used to be in a band called Scythe, and my drummer, I was hanging out with him this weekend, and we still jam every now and then. But we were talking about how Metallica. We were talking about Metallica is like the band for everyone, right? Like one of the bands.
Yeah.
And you listen to the early stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys get on Spotify a lot, but they put all the deluxe edition for like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, Kill 'Em All, and it has a lot of live shows and a lot of demos or different versions of the songs. And a lot of those songs sound really horrible. They sound bad. Like, but the thing is, they're so raw, and they have like a hook, and they're catchy, and they're just good song. Like, a good song no matter what. Like, that's why when you go to Backyard, someone could play a really bad version of Seek and Destroy, but everyone's gonna sing along and still fucking love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what they were doing but for themselves, setting up that whole structure of like this is a good song, but we just haven't got to that point yet. And Metallica, I think, came out with it's a perfect example. They came out with 2, 3 demos of like almost the same songs, and they just kept getting better and better because they kept adding members, kept getting better, and James was more comfortable with his voice and got to that point where they were just they were tweaking it. They were making sure they got it to the point where it was like this is a really, really good song now. And a lot of people tend to forget about like, hey, we'll get there eventually. You can't expect to be, at that point already. A lot of bands, they started off really bad. Like a lot of their early stuff sucks, but
Like Anthrax.
well, no, they're okay. Okay, their early stuff's alright. But they're out. You know what's funny you say that? Because Anthrax to me is like they're probably like the lower tier out of the big four.
Big Four.
I think
Yeah,
everyone
everybody
thinks
said
that.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all guys shut up, all right?
But they have really good songs. Like that, good songs go a long way. I think
They're catchy, dude.
I think a lot of bands like forget you gotta think about the song. You gotta think about how to write a song. Riffs no matter will come later, but if you have a good song, like it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter the riffs, but I mean if you have good riffs and a good song, like there's no way you're not gonna make it unless you just implode from not being able to be a band together.
Yeah.
Yeah, some pretty deep stuff.
Yeah, Larry. I feel like I was just attended a church session. Like it was poetic.
I mean,
Hallelujah.
like as from another band too, like us, it makes a lot of sense, and it hits home. I think it hits home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I try to like, I wish more bands were more honest about stuff that happens behind the scenes because they always sugarcoat shit, and I don't like it. I don't like when people do that. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, like I still talk to those guys, and we like literally when I left my band, like they didn't hit me up. My bandmates didn't say how you doing, like even though they would be like, hey, we're brothers, and we're gonna back each other up all the time, and it's like, yeah, you have camaraderie with your bandmates, but when you feel like you have a connection with people, like you want to be able to separate that, because if they're really your friends, then they'll, because I'm still friends with my other bandmates, and there was no difference there, and I feel like it helps a lot to hear the truth from people, because I always think about like, what worked in my bands, what didn't, even to this point right now, like I'm in a cover band, and yeah, sure, like it's just a cover band, and it's not a real band, but we all kind of share the same love for it, so it's a lot easier to communicate, a lot easier to get stuff done, and it goes a long way because I think a lot of people don't understand how hard it is to even be in a band sometimes, because it's like.
Wait, what's the
like
cover band?
Stars.
Everybody know?
Oh, it's embryonic. It's embryonic. Do Sepultura covers, just the good stuff. Nothing from the dreadlock era.
Yeah.
He doesn't play Troops of Doom, Sam. You can smile.
Sigh of relief.
Yeah, that's our song if we have nothing else to play.
Yeah.
But we haven't played it live yet, so.
Okay.
But it's a cool thing, and I dig it, and I've always wanted to do it, and I think I've had more success with this band that I've had with my previous band just because it's just a lot smoother. I think you got to be straight up with people when you do music, like this, but also like straight up with yourself too, like what do you want out of it. There's nothing wrong with being in a band just because you want to be a band. Like I was telling Rick earlier too that I think a lot of bands nowadays, as soon as you become a band, it's like, let's be big, like let's make it, and like and it's like, well, they could still be a band and just make good music, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's true. What's it like being in a?
But I don't know. What about you guys? You guys ever had like any opportunities that maybe you should have took, or as a band or as a musician?
I don't know, Sam. Do you think? Because I'm pretty clueless to like anything really.
I mean, well, Yeah, obviously, there's. I think sometimes we waste a lot of our time. And like I guess in my case, you get discouraged sometimes, and then you just kind of drift away from it and want to do something else, and then you go do something else, and then something else sparks it again in you, and then you get that same feeling that you had when you were younger, when you wanted to, just play music and have fun. And I think that's what it should be about. And I think uh, we kind of just, as we get older, we kind of have to like make decisions on our futures and stuff like that. And I mean, of course, it's a dream for every single band to make it. But I think it's more important to like have fun and remember why you did it. You wanted to do it in the first place. But I think yeah, there's like just opportunities that we didn't take, or at least I didn't take, to finish the material as fast as I guess I could.
I think you have a good point there too, because you kind of just like I'm really big on history of bands, and
Yeah,
I never get tired of watching like documentaries and behind the music kind of stuff. I love that stuff, but I feel
yeah.
like you kind of have no choice nowadays. There's too many things to not only distract you, but it's not like back in the '70s or like all you did was
80s,
just like sit around and do nothing
pretty
except
Yeah.
just
much.
play music, you know?
Skate or bike to your friend's place or something because there's no cell phones,
Yeah,
no
exactly. This
internet.
and it's easier back then, I think, to just focus just on
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Especially right now, like there's so much going on. Like I don't know how many bands are gonna even stick around. I mean, did you guys see that whole thing with John Schaefer from Iced Earth? That he
Oh
got
Oh,
yeah,
caught.
yeah. We were just talking
I,
about
th-
it.
I think his career is done with the band.
I mean, as a band member, yeah, but maybe as a
Yeah,
political figure, not. He's probably gonna do something with that.
It just started for him as a political figure.
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I get that's all his decision and that's his life and stuff. But I mean, that I'm pretty sure I don't know if he knew or not that was gonna affect his musical career, but it's gonna affect his musical career for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's different now because it's so out there because of social media,
Yeah,
and especially like back in the day, if there was a rumor about anything, it usually didn't really affect anyone because it was just kind of like in the background. Um, like I'm a really big Nirvana fan, and it's everyone says like, oh, Courtney Love made Kirk do heroin, and she made
yeah,
him kill himself, and it's like whether you think he got killed by her or someone that she hired, it doesn't matter that because he was already a really bad addict before all that, before all the fame. He was already into heroin before any of that stuff happened. So it's like, but people knew about it, but they just didn't. It wasn't out there, Like nowadays, celebrities put it out there because they decide to. It's not like, nothing's really like a secret anymore. It's just pre-planned, like determined, and then they get better, and then okay, now they made a comeback, and
Yeah,
they're let's cheer for them. But I guess I was getting off the point. So the it's easier, I think, for bands to kind of. I think that's why you see a lot of good bands come out from the Midwest, and you see a
yeah.
lot of
Oh
bands
yeah, yeah,
come over here because they already have that mentality of we have nothing else better to do, and we want to come out to LA or New York and make it. Because
yeah.
I know, I didn't mean to interrupt, but go for it.
No, no. Oh well, well. Let's say the same thing. Like I think life in LA is pretty fast, so I think in LA we kind of forget a lot, or LA, any major like city. We kind of forget about the music sometimes, and then there's too much stuff going on around the city, like a major city. And unlike the Midwest towns, or where they just like kind of lay back, relax, and actually think or do things that they actually like doing and enjoy it more. So it's not like they get caught up in all the just the big city stuff. and they just enjoy the moment and stuff like that. And I think like that gives them more passion, and then they stick out from with that
Yeah.
because you could see the passion that they have for just playing music, and it's like it doesn't matter like what kind of metal they play or whatever. It's like, oh, we're all the same. We just play our instruments and have fun. And I think that's what really stands out from them a lot. And they have an advantage on that on every single like major city band. It's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it shows a lot too, and bands
Yeah.
that are from the city is because there's like, it's weird how bands now that come from like middle America have more rawness and grit than bands that come
Oh,
from the city.
yeah.
It's so weird because like they throw harder, they
Hell
play
yeah.
harder, and here in LA especially, I think you see it a lot. It's like it's almost like every band has to
Outdo it.
pose,
Yeah.
and they have all these like, they're trying to do all these weird things that they just don't, because you could tell they're like trying too hard. Especially in LA, like everyone tries way too hard, and it shows. And then like there's no other way to distinguish anyone within the LA scene, because everyone wears the same shit.
Dude, for real.
That is true.
And so it's very easy to get kind of like lumped up with everyone. But even in the Midwest, like their attitude's so like
It's
it's so
different.
different. It's
Yeah.
different. The way they approach it is different. I
Yeah.
know that's why I mean, rest in peace, Riley, but that's why I really liked Power Trip, because
Oh yeah.
they were the perfect example of like, they came and just they were just coming out strong, but they've been putting in work for a long time. And I like I said, that's why I like watching old stuff, reading about bands, and I watched those old videos of Power Trip, like basically before they even were Power Trip, and they just have that drive, and because they come from like, it's funny for us to say, oh, like, oh, you're from the Midwest, because we just think, oh, we think farmers and rednecks,
Yeah.
right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But that's not really what it is. It's just they just live in places that are nothing but green trees and stuff. But they like I said, they have more passion for it because they have nothing to look like. We're so lucky, we're so spoiled. Like we have so many fucking things to do over here.
Hell yeah.
We have
That's
like, you go into the city or anywhere around here, that if nothing was closed right now, there'd probably be like 5 breweries I can go to right now. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And you can go to, on the weekend, you could go to maybe 5-10 shows in LA.
the beach is like 15 minutes away.
Yeah,
You got
everything's here.
Knott's Berry Farm, fucking Disneyland.
Yeah, everything's
All
close
this
by.
Yeah.
Everything's close by. But see, with a band like Power Trip, they can kind of just focus on that, and they know what they want out of their music. They know what they want to do. There's no bullshit. There's no extra. Hey, this is what we're trying to prove. It's just like, no, we're a band who has nothing else better to do, and so we just focus on that. And like I said, they're just because they're from the Midwest doesn't mean that they're not just as into it as we are. And it's funny to me to see a band like that comes from the Midwest and just schools everyone else, like
Hell yeah.
in LA and anywhere else really, and they hold it up. Because I've seen them twice, and before Riley passed away, and I know the last time I saw them, they played with Exodus and Obituary. And, well, I mean,
Yeah.
to me personally, I love Exodus and I love Obituary, but to me, they stole the show. They really put off this energy of like, kind of reminds me of what how I would see Metallica in the early days, or Sepultura, and
Yeah.
just, it's like raw. It's raw and it's real. It's not fake. It's not planned. It's not like, oh, hey, we're trying to prove something. It's just literally like, hey, we're writing music that we fucking like, and we're not gonna prove to anyone that we're metal or not. Like, if you fucking like it, you like it. If you
Yeah.
don't, then that's cool. Just go listen to something else.
You know what? And that kind of leads into another thing too, where I think well, I brought this up with the other guys too, but like a couple years back, where a lot of these bands from the '80s, these metal bands, that started everything, they're gonna retire. Like they're gonna stop playing in a couple years. Like obviously
Yeah.
after this virus or in this virus, who knows? They might just like call it quits. Like, all right, that's it, because they're already too old. Like it's a lot. It takes a lot of energy for you to play heavy metal on stage and stuff like that. Besides the touring and stuff like that, so I think it gives
Mhm.
a lot. It gives a lot of room for newer bands to step up and to bring in a whole new wave of like thrash metal or heavy metal, and then just to establish itself as like, who knows, maybe the next Metallica, the next this, the next that, but for a different whole generation. So it's I think the next couple years are going to be pretty exciting for the newer bands, where I think now is a time where they should have a lot more drive or energy to release their music, because it's just a new wave. It's a new wave.
Well, it literally is gonna be because like
Yeah.
society's kind of paused right now. So whatever comes after this is gonna be. I think it's kind of, even though it sounds a little harsh, it's like everything else that came before this really isn't gonna matter really. And it's like, what else can we offer now when we get back to
Yeah.
it?
True.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially when shows come back, everyone's gonna be play starved to
Oh
performing.
fuck yeah, dude!
It's
People are
gonna
gonna
be
be
super
jumping
awkward.
off the walls, dude.
We're gonna have to conquer stage fright.
Oh yeah, that's gonna suck.
Hey,
Hey,
what do you call? Hey, I was at that Power Trip show with Exodus and Obituary, and they did, what do you call it? Like pretty much steal the show. I'd gone there not really knowing who like Power Trip was at all. I'd gone for this other band that was opening called Dust Bowl. I think they're from France or Germany. I think they're from France. I was like, oh yeah, these guys. I got like two of their CDs. Like, oh, they're cool. Probably coming from Europe over here. They opened, and they kind of. I mean, the audience reaction was kind of like stale, dude. It was like
For Dust
it was
Bowl?
like yeah, for Dust Bowl. It was like so. Like there's no pits or nothing. But like Power Trip played right after them, and then after that, like people just came out of nowhere, really, and then like just like pit broke out and stuff. Their set was like amazing.
Well, I think that just goes to show you, like, you need that new blood, even though they're not relatively new, but they just have that, I don't know, that's that thing, that extra X factor,
that like spark.
and that, yeah, exactly, and it makes you, like, you could feel it, like when you see good bands, which is like why I like listening to new bands to begin with, because it gives you something different to look forward to, and it's just it shows you something else to listen to, even though it might be similar to what you're already into. But
Yeah.
if you hear a band for the first time, you've never heard of them, whether it be live or maybe a CD, it's like there's no better feeling than like, wow, I found a new band. Like, this is fucking cool.
Like it reignites the fire of listening.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that a lot too, because lately, for a long while, kind of, I've just been bouncing on and off of listening to metal music, because I think like when you play it and you hear other people playing it, like especially like either at a show or touring or whatever, I've grown for the listening experience to start to become kind of stale. Like it's not the same anymore.
You know what's funny though is like, uh, we say that and everything, but then once we play that one show again, then that's when we remember, it's like, oh, this is why I like playing heavy metal,
Yeah, yeah.
or
Like,
this is why I like playing backyard shows and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's only when we're playing when we remember like why we're doing it in the first place.
yeah, yeah. Like it's very fun to play, and I don't know. At times I feel like, I don't know, not like that. I've grown out of the phase of it because I still listen to it, but I just feel like at times that I'm listening to a different version of the same band sometimes, if that makes sense.
I think I kind of understand what you're saying, because if I listen to a band a lot, and I it's a band that I love. Let's say, for example, let's say Megadeth. You know, I really like Megadeth's early stuff, and
Yes.
I really I can listen to their newer stuff, but if I'm not in the right mood or I'm not in the right state of mind, like I feel like sometimes it's not that I don't like listening to a band. It's just it doesn't. It's almost like it just becomes background noise.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
just and it's just I'm just listening to it because that's just what I listen to, and it's not like when I was I think it's
Younger.
just a matter of like it's not something that you have like it's not something that's inspiring you anymore the same way it did the first time around, or maybe the second time around. Like you've had it part of your life for so long that it's just a part of you now. But
Yeah.
I think it kind of just goes to show you like if you're not feeling inspired by something that used to inspire you, then maybe you need to find a new inspiration, or maybe you just need to find why you don't like them that way anymore. Because it's
Y-
kind of like it's a sign, you know. It's kind of like, and I'm very bad at metaphors or analogies, but it's like if you're in a relationship and you find yourself getting bored, it's like it's kind of a sign telling you like, hey, you need to either like end this relationship or you need to find out what you liked about this person in the first place. And that's kind of goes back to what was being said before is like you kind of have that moment where you find yourself being motivated again and you have that like that love for it again, that passion, and you have to kind of like find a way to harness that moment and that feeling and keep it inside of you like it's like a fire, it's literally a fire, like a
Yeah.
fire inside of you. You got to keep feeding it so that way you can enjoy something even more, because that's why I like listening to like little bootlegs and a live video that no one's seen, and because it keeps things interesting. And then I go down a rabbit hole, and then when I come back to that, you know, let's say I haven't listened to a Rise by Sepultura in like 5 months because I've been listening to everything else, and oh, you know, Max has a side band, and the drummer's doing something else over here, and oh, I never seen this live video before, or oh, hey, they were you know influenced by this band, and I go on these different you know adventures of different parts of their history, and then I get back to that album, and it sounds fresh to me. I'm like, okay, I kind of see what they were getting at, and oh, this song, I forgot about the song, and then, but also I think what matters a lot too for musicians, especially, is like where you're at in life too, because right now, I think it's a dangerous time, not only for human beings like in general, but for musicians specifically, since we are musicians, it's like it's
Yeah.
very easy to get like depressed and very overwhelmed because musicians need to be out doing shit. Like that's just the way we are. Even if you're introverted, you need to
Yeah.
be out doing stuff because you get stagnant, but also your soul breaks down. Like that's why you see a lot of people like, and it's sad, but musicians are gonna be getting in very dangerous situations, but also you're going to see a lot of musicians passing away simply because there's nothing to do right now. And like their will is going to like go down. And I think you have to find a way to get your will to be as strong as possible, get that motivation. And it might even be like, you know, we might be metal musicians, but if you'd like to play other music, like there's nothing wrong with maybe giving that a shot and or listening to new types of music. Maybe even
Yeah.
convincing yourself like, hey, I don't need a front and pretend like I don't like the Strokes. Like I'm gonna listen
Yeah.
to the Strokes,
You know what's
you
funny?
know?
It's like that's the new thing nowadays. Where like back in the days, like let's say like 80s and stuff like that, they had barely invented metal. Like that was all they listened to, their drive. Like let's say from like the 70s rock and just rock and roll in general. That's like all they had. But then it's different now because now we have this wide variety of music that we can listen to that can inspire us, and we can implement it into our music that we specifically play and love hearing. So it's a whole different. it's a whole different field now.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like there's too much there's too much around us that we're not focused on just one like
Exactly.
influence. And like
Yeah.
one like back then, you had every band in the United States for the most part was influenced by the British invasion,
Yeah.
and and so or British the what's it called, the new wave of
The wave
British heavy
of
metal.
British heavy metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they took that and added their spin to it. Was like back and forth, right? Like you had
Yeah.
United States, UK, back and forth, back and forth. And now here, I think there's just so much music. It's almost
There
like
is.
it's like if we wanted to make a new like revolution in music, we would almost have to like and I'll get to what I'm about to say because it might be controversial, but I feel like we need to start over. Like almost like if we let's say one day we just erased all the music in the world
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we only have memory of how it's supposed to sound and we start from scratch. I think whatever comes after is going to be really great because we're like going to have to kind of like live up to what we knew, but eventually we're not going to have any new influences except for what we make in the beginning. So
Yeah.
it might cause a really different way to write music. But what I was going to say is that as much as I hate to say it, like I feel a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have so many, they use the word a lot, legacy bands,
Yeah.
and you have all these bands that just don't go away. Like we're gonna
That's
have
true.
our third
Yeah.
world tour,
Led
and
Zeppelin, The Who.
and it's like they're not really gone, right? And you're exactly how you're saying, like back in the 70s, 60s, these bands only had a certain group, a type of music that they listened to,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and so, but now we have so many bands that are still around. Like
Bands, artists. Yeah.
yeah, like it's trippy. You have like Led Zeppelin, or let's say Queen, because Queen probably is
Yeah.
the one band's a little more put together. But or let's say the Rolling Stones. Yeah, from the Rolling
Oh,
Stones to Metallica to Rage Against the Machine to Slipknot. Now, like these are bands that, like for the most part, they have the same members. They've been around for such a long time, and you're going from a band that was from the early '60s to a band that's like from the 2000s, and these bands still exist. So it's kind of like it's weird because you're like, hey, we want new bands to arise, but they really can't get through because there's so many bands that are still taking those slots up. And until those bands go away,
we need new
or
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And as controversial as it sounds, a lot of these we're gonna have to die before we have like a completely new playing field of music, like a whole new level of music.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if
I
they
feel
don't,
the
they're gonna
same
keep
way.
playing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because it goes back to the term. It's just dad rock.
Well, yeah, most of it is, yeah.
It's just stuff that our parents listened to. It's like, yeah, it's good and everything. We grew up with that, and that's what kind of inspired us too. But, I mean, we're not just going to listen to the same group of songs because who the hell are we going to go see to play these songs that we like? Like, they're not going to be around anymore in like a couple years from now.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but it's the thing is you don't have those like you're not seeing Metallica from 1984. You're not seeing the
Exactly. You're
Rolling
not.
Stones
Yeah.
from 1968. So it's not the same energy.
Like,
We want to have
exactly.
our own Rolling Stones. We want to have our own
Yeah.
Metallica, but we don't.
We need to see the attitude in that they had when they were in the 70s, the 80s, and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's honestly that's why old people, well, that's why people that grew up with it go to
Yeah.
the shows, and that's why people that like them now, like younger kids like us or younger, they
Yeah.
go see them because they're not into the Rolling Stones old. They're into the Rolling Stones young.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're they're
Exactly.
they're
That's true.
they're being nostalgic even though they never were there. They were
That's
never part of that.
a very good point.
No, and I think that's just what we do, but I think it causes like you're basically making like a never ending loop of fans that are just not gonna go anywhere except that same fan base, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like I remember hearing on what was the podcast I forgot. I was listening to that metal suck. Oh, no, was it Metal Sucks? Yeah, Metal Sucks, and they were having a discussion about how there can't be a big band anymore. Like let's say like Nirvana or Rage Against the Machine in that sense. Like even though Rage Against is still
Big.
around,
Yeah.
but they're not gonna be that same like level of like just nasty popularity. And they were like the one band, I guess one of the last huge bands
Yeah.
back in the day, that we're never gonna have that because you don't have kids that are like in the same group anymore. Like, and it was funny because they were comparing it to like every great musical genre or group that comes out usually has a drug that goes with it. Like there's this kids, and then they all do the same drug, and they go listen to the same music, and then they create good music. But but they're like, the thing now though is that you have like, let's say the probably biggest thing that came out within the last 10 years that wasn't rock was probably like, techno EDM music.
Oh hell
And
yeah. But
and they, they did drugs too, but it's not, they weren't being creative. They weren't
no.
doing something with that. And I like the point that the point is that there's no one specific like focus anymore. It's just everywhere, and there that's why there can't be another big band anytime soon, because it's just not going to happen without that whole fan base coming together and it growing very, very, basically it going from grassroots to becoming this whole big thing, because you have so many, not only do you have so many genres, you have so many subgenres. Then you have artists that go off solo. Then you have artists that are like only big on YouTube or only big on SoundCloud, and they all have their own little fan bases. So it's almost like everyone's in their own little clique, and everyone's in their own little group, and they're not combining. Nobody wants to combine. Nobody wants to like just focus on one thing, and that's why you can't have another big band like that. Well, I mean, there's bands that are big, but you're not gonna have that
it's not
one
like the
band
Feds.
you're not gonna have that one band that's gonna just be on every single TV station, every single radio station. And it sucks. It sucks, but I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, unless we get rid of all these bands, I'm not saying we should make a plan for that, but if it happens, eventually, within like the next
Couple years.
30, 40 years, we're gonna see a lot of cool bands coming out of it. Because right now, it sucks for us as bands now, because you can only get up to a certain point, and then then you're stuck. Like, you can't go beyond. You're never gonna see Power Trip if I mean, I don't know. Hopefully,
I mean, you can't anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say maybe they might get another singer. I have hope they will, because I feel like, in my eyes, they're like the whole AC/DC thing, where like they had Bon Scott die, and it's possible they can get another singer
That's
and
true.
just like blow up even more. But what I was gonna say is that Power Trip, even at the highest popularity, they weren't gonna be on a higher bill than Exodus. They're never gonna be on a higher bill than Sepultura. They can never do that. That doesn't happen anymore. Like, it doesn't happen where, you can have Power Trip be the headliner, but you're never gonna have a band surpass the bands that we have out now, because they're legacy. They're big bands that are just gonna always be on the top of the bill. They're never gonna let the band be like, hey, yeah, go ahead and close out the show. Like, no, because they have a reputation to keep. So that's why I have to get to that point where there's no more bands that are headlining anymore, and it's just bands that are working their way to the top.
Yeah,
Very
that's true. Damn, Larry coming in with the facts today.
It's true.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Oh yeah, dude.
I have a lot of time to think, and I have a lot of time to read. Sometimes too much.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
Now that the
It's just-
pandemic's, I was gonna say, what are you doing now that obviously we can't perform live? Like, have you taken up any hobbies or anything since the whole thing going down?
Me personally, I'm just trying to work out more, because I like working out, but I also like hiking and just keeping busy. But as far as hobbies, I mean, I already wanted to play bass, so like I wanted to learn how to play bass. I'm learning a lot of Beatles songs, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Shout out to Paul McCartney, because a lot of people don't know he's a really good bass player.
Yeah.
And they're not easy to play. To be honest, it's trippy how hard his bass parts are.
Cool.
But as far as anything else, not really. I'm just trying to catch up on any movies I haven't seen, and I'm a big movie buff, and
Oh,
I'm a big
nice.
you know I like I'm not gonna say I'm a snob or anything, but I do like watching films that kind of like either they move you or they kind of teach you something. And I recently saw The Sound of Metal. I don't know if you guys heard of that movie. It has a I really recommend it. If any one of you guys has
Was it
Amazon
on?
Prime,
Oh,
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Okay, cool. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
shout out to Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But it has Riz Ahmed. He plays a drummer for they're like a noise band, and the movie's about him losing his hearing and how he goes from being a musician to just being a deaf person, pretty much.
Wow.
And so his whole life changes. His whole life changes.
That's
And
crazy.
it's very fucking. It's almost like it's basically a life lesson to him. You're watching him go through all this, and it shows you how much we can't take something for granted because like once it gets taken away, like you're fucked and you have to deal with it. Can't
Yeah.
escape it really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just being a dad. I have my kid. He just turned 4.
Hey,
And
nice.
Hey,
yeah,
nice.
Mazel
Happy
tov.
birthday.
Right. Damn.
And he's a handful. So I'm just trying to be a better dad. Trying to motivate myself to write more music. And yeah, I'm just honestly my hobby right now is just enjoying life as much as I can. As much as this shit sucks
That's
that we're
good.
dealing with the pandemic, like I'm just trying my best to fill my time with the people I love and not take shit for granted. Like I highly recommend people to be safe, and I'm not saying go out there and
Yeah.
rub elbows with people and be all sweaty, but
Yeah.
I still go see some of my friends. Like I try to be as careful as possible, social distance, wear a mask,
Yeah.
and I still go hang out with my family. Cause dude, like of all the people that have been dying recently, and some people I know, like personally, and some of my family members have been going through this shit too, and it's like I don't want to feel like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be, too like scared, or also just I'm gonna just wait until things get a little better. It's like, it's okay to like to break the rules a bit. No, it's like the government's gonna come knocking on your door. And it's like because you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, man. Like you don't want to just live in that life of regret. Going back to the whole missed opportunity thing, it's like you want to make sure you take advantage of the time you got because any fucking time, it
Your
might be
time is
your
up.
day.
Yeah. That's definitely true.
You're gonna clock out without you even knowing it, and so you got to make sure that you take advantage of it.
Yeah.
What
I
about
think
you guys? I'm curious to see what you guys been up to. What you got? Have you guys got into? Well, I mean, this is cool. How you doing this? I don't know if there's anything else you guys are up to.
I mean, dude, I like I I draw a lot, like an insane amount. That's like the main thing, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, I kind of just watch TV and read. That's pretty much it. Like read comics and shit.
Oh, sick. Any good comics you've been reading right now?
There was one I was reading not too long ago called Ibitsu, and it's like about like a ghost that's like dressed up in a wedding dress that's like haunting people. And yeah, it's pretty horrific. It gave me nightmares, no lie. But yeah, that's like the main one I'm reading right now.
Is that like a traditional like how Japan has a lot of ghost stories and
I
like all
think
these folk tales?
yeah, it's I think it's inspired by a folktale, but it's more modern. There was another book I read too called No Longer Human that Loki kind of like changed my mentality on depression. The author was writing these stories, but he would try to commit suicide because he had really bad clinical depression. And
Damn.
yeah, it's pretty fucked because this final book he wrote, No Longer Human, is basically his life story told through the eyes of a character. And even throughout that book, he's trying to commit suicide, but it keeps failing until after that book was released, he succeeded in drowning himself at like 32.
What the?
Yeah, really amazing book though. Like,
Way to bring the energy down.
yeah, no, well, the good thing
Not
about
as
it, I know, I was like, damn, this is gonna be really sad, but I really push people who are depressed to read it because, especially from my point of view, relatability is the biggest thing in it, and it feels like when you're having depression and alone, it's hard for someone to relate to the issues at hand, and that
Oh, yeah.
author really like drove home the issue of depression and being young, you know, like in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely recommend.
That sounds cool, man.
Yeah. What about you, Rick?
I started cycling,
Nice.
like for exercise. I got real into like bike riding, multiple gear, not fixed gear. But yeah, dude, it's like fun. It's like cardio, but fun. Like I like cardio, but I hate running.
Yeah.
But so I feel like bike riding is more rewarding. You go farther distances, you know, like kind of push yourself a little bit more.
There's views.
Like yeah, I guess. Yeah, like biking up hills is like a nightmare, but it's fun at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I've just been biking a lot. And then yeah, just like making stuff here and there, you know.
Nice.
I've been reading much or nothing. And I just got back into what do you call it? Learning classical guitar, I guess.
Oh, cool. Cool.
And yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Sam? That boy Sam though.
Huh?
I said that boy Sam though. What have you been up to?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I've been fired up to write music.
Ooh. But I meant
play
as
music.
Sick.
Shots fired.
I wish I had one of those like dun, 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 sound effects,
Nah,
but I
dude.
don't.
Honestly, because I've been having to work, right, during the whole pandemic, and it's pissing me off. Like the whole system is pissing me off because
Tell
they find
Sam.
loopholes to keep everything open, and I'm fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
And it's so much hypocrisy inside a corporation where they just make up shit. Like they just make up shit, and it's so obvious. But then again, because there's laws and everything, they just take advantage of it, and it's just really pissing me off. So because of that, it motivates me to just finish the album that we're working on and everything, and a lot of ideas just flow through my head because I'm pissed off in the whole system. So, if anything, I think it's a realization. This whole pandemic is a realization that, you know, for me, that I gotta do something else because it's frustrating, man. It's really frustrating. So, and then I kind of found that I think music is the only way the only thing that actually brings me peace, or that gives me the satisfaction in life that, you know, that I've accomplished actually something that I wanted to do in this earth. And well, that's what I've been with. Kind of, yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's good, man. Like, there's no other thing there's no other way to feel free than writing music and performing it. I think it's really cool. It's like really personal, and I
It is.
that's why I feel like a lot of people probably it kind of sucks for them, like not playing live and not being able to, like, just the whole environment. Because like I like trust me, man, I like to party, but I don't. But I also just like the environment of it. You know.
Yeah.
Like it's like a ritual. You know, you get in your car, you load up, get to the place, you scope out the venue.
It's a lot of fun.
And then you get to get your rage out, let it out, and
in some weird way, it brings you sanity.
Oh hell yeah, definitely it does. Because you like I was telling Rick as well on our walk. I was like, sometimes it's the way you are on stage, the way you perform. Sometimes it's your only outlet, and you get crazy as hell
Yeah,
on stage, and then when you're back down to earth, you're like, okay, maybe you might be calm, or maybe you still might be crazy, but
just
it's
back
like your
to
way.
reality.
Yeah. But in that moment, you're in your own place. You're in your zone.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's very therapeutic, to be honest.
It is. Yeah,
Especially if it means a lot to you.
yeah.
Nice.
Damn. It just lets everybody speechless. I think everybody's on the
lightning
same page. That's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue with that. I mean,
You're hitting home, Larry. You're hitting home.
yeah,
Like I said, I think a lot. So.
Yeah, it's like you're hitting spots that we don't want to talk about.
That's all I'm about. That honestly, man, that's my thing. It's caused me a lot of trouble with my family members, but it's also got me in a lot of. I like to be straight up as much as I can. I think we're all entitled to our secrets and our,
Yeah.
our own little. I could say solitude. I'm not gonna tell everyone everything, but I feel like with shit that really matters, and especially nowadays, not to go too crazy off on this, but because we live in a digital age and social media, everyone kind of has like almost like they're like a character themselves. It's not really them, and I don't like that, especially when like one of my favorite things to do is try to make people laugh at their jobs. Like let's say if I'm let's say I'm at Target and I could tell someone's like hates their job and doesn't want to be there. It's like
Oh,
I try to go out of my way to just kind of, even if they don't like respond to me, it's like I try to get them to break out of that habit, like
yeah.
because it's so easy to get stuck in robot mode, and also I personally don't like it when someone just is just telling you what you want to hear, and they're not really going out of their way to be. There was this one girl that I was really into, and I was trying to date her, but she didn't want to go out with me because I used to go out with her sister, which is true story. I didn't mean for it to turn out that way, and she got creeped out by it. Well, not creeped out. She's just like, hey, I like you, but I can't really let go of the fact that you used to date my sister.
It's kind of weird.
Missed
Yeah, and I was like,
for
hey,
her.
oh, definitely. But the one thing that she told me that, because she's still a cool person. I mean, we don't really stay in touch anymore, but when we did, she told me that being she said telling the truth and being honest are two different things. Because if you are really honest with someone, then you're gonna be really critical. Like you're gonna tell them something that might not be what they want to hear. The truth can be anything. The truth can honestly be anything depending on your situation. So you can control the truth, but to be honest with someone, to be really open with someone, it's a whole different ballgame. Like, and it's just more, I don't know, it's just more rewarding, and it feels better to be honest with someone as much as you can anyways, because then it's not you just bullshitting or trying to like we're me and my I keep calling him my drummer, but it's one of my best friends. So he's he was having like a little get together at his place this weekend, and it was just me, him, and one of his friends, and my girlfriend. And we're just chilling, and we were watching Kurt Hammett. Like I think it was like an Icons segment. He was just talking about how like pretty much from when he started being a musician to when he joined Metallica, and we couldn't help but make fun of him because like the way he talks is very pretentious, and we're like, I can't take him seriously. Like even though I love him as a guitarist, I think he might be a great person, but there's people when they talk, you could tell they're kind of full of it, and it's not cool because it doesn't give you anything new. Like when someone's full of it and they're pretentious, when you listen to them, it's almost like they're saying nothing at all. And I feel like when someone's really honest and they're being straight up with you, because it's funny that Kurt Hammett used to be friends with Paul Bailoff, but I think Paul Bailoff's a more honest person than he is. And even though Paul Bailoff was a maniac, but I'll probably listen more to him than I would Kirk because he's just a more honest person, more person who knows who they are, and they're not just saying what they like. It's like not calculated, you know. It's like they're being really, really upfront with you, and that goes a long way because you don't want someone to like tell you a half-assed truth and not be straight up with you and tell you how it is because then perfect example is our parents. Our parents don't tell us the truth. They don't tell us the honest truth, and that kind of hurts us in the future because I didn't know I didn't know we had to pay taxes. I didn't know we had to like
Yeah.
how
Trying
to
to
do,
code everything.
yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that we don't learn and
Yeah.
and in my personal case, I know that my parents had a lot of financial problems growing up, but they just never told us.
Yeah.
And they tell me now like, oh yeah, we almost couldn't pay the house, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why didn't you like tell us? Like, maybe we wouldn't have bought all those, Nintendo 64 games. Like, and it's just like those are things that I wish people were more like. It's not gonna hurt anyone to be a little bit of I guess a little more detail about what's really going on because it kind of helps you prepare for the future and prepare yourself. You really have to deal with it, and it's just not fair to people when you're not being 100% with anyone because it's just like it's like to get personal again. My son's mother, like we're separated and we've been separated for a while now, and it didn't really work out early on, but not to put her. Well, yeah, I am gonna put her on blast, but she she has a tendency to not know when she makes a mistake, and
That's
and it's a bit
problematic.
yeah very and it's very frustrating because even if she does know she made a mistake, she does not want to be like, hey, I made it and I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
that's a problem with a lot of people because it's not just a girl thing. I've seen my own guy friends do that too, and it
Yeah.
sucks because it's like you need to be able to one of the big things that I've been kind of like focused on is like accountability I should say, sorry, and like owning up to your mistakes and not just like ignoring them because if you ignore them you're not really progressing as a person,
Nope.
and you're not gonna get to that next level. You're gonna stay stuck and you're gonna be just a shitty person, the same shitty attitude, same perspective. You're never gonna get anywhere, and you're gonna always blame everything else because it's not going your way, and that really kind of holds you back because it's all about perspective, man. If life can be shitty, like right now, life sucks right now. It does.
Yeah.
But if you see everything in a better light, it's gonna be a better time. It's not gonna be as bad because how many times like I know I had this conversation with my girlfriend where like she's like I don't know exactly what the conversation was about, but she's like, I like doing all these things that we get to try out, like going to different places and da da da. But I did this with my ex-boyfriend and I hated it. But it's like, but with you, but because when you experience something with someone that does it in a way where they enjoy it, and it kind of makes you enjoy it more, even though you're not really into it. Someone's like, hey, let's go, I don't know, let's just go to this burger spot and just grab a couple of shitty ass burgers. And like, hey, it's not the best food ever, but because you're with that person, they make that experience even better. And it's cool, and you like to be with that person. No matter what you do, like it's gonna be a fun time. But if you go with someone that's always in a shitty mood and doesn't like anything, and
Oh,
just,
fuck no.
yeah, then it's just gonna make you like not enjoy it at all. Even though maybe you're like, hey, this isn't too bad, but but I'm with this person that doesn't like it, so my experience with it sucks as well. But I'm just saying, it's all a matter of how you look at things. It's all a matter of how honest you can be, because it goes a long way, especially if I'm looking at all these stupid news things on Yahoo, but a lot of these people like that are in this place they are right now, on whatever their purpose they think might be, or whatever they're angry about, is because they're not being honest. They're not telling themselves, "Hey, um, this is what I really want, or this is what I'm really doing wrong," and they don't own up to it. And it happens a lot too in music. You have bands that don't own up to what they need to be doing, what they need to be focusing on, and I think it matters a lot in life and in music to just be not only honest to other people but to yourself, so that way you can really get the most out of it. Because all I know is that of a lot of musicians who've made it, whether they're good people or not,
Yeah.
like they pour their hearts out, and now we're talking about them, and now we're whether you like them or not, in the long run, it's like they did what they fucking did, no regrets, and they just were able to do something with it, and later on we can cry about it, we can laugh about it, depending what happens. But I think in the long run, it's better just to be straight up. It's better to be, but also just own up to the shit you do. And when you fuck up, hey, say you fucked up, and it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not be a perfect person. Like, that's just the way we are.
Yeah.
And honestly, imperfections is what makes us human. A lot of even some of the best albums you hear, man. If you listen to those those solo tracks, if you listen to all the breakdowns, there's a lot of songs that don't sound that great, but because it's our unity and the
Yeah.
harmony of everything put together. Like, I remember listening to, I don't know if you guys are fans of Radiohead, but their very big song "Creep."
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love listening to like just the vocal tracks. Um, and if you listen to that vocal track, you probably could look it up on YouTube. It's just the vocal take of him singing "Creep," and you can hear his voice cracking. You can hear it like just it doesn't sound in key, it doesn't sound great, but you're like, damn, but when I listen to the song as a whole piece, like it sounds amazing. But just listening to those little imperfections just goes to show you how much it matters to just give it everything you got. And if it sounds good, it sounds good, even if it sounds bad when you look at it under a microscope.
Damn.
Very true. Damn.
Hot shit, dude. Yeah. Well, what do you call it? Usually, well, we passed the hour mark, and I was gonna say, if before we end it, if there's anything you wanted to say, Larry.
Um, no, man, I thank you guys for having me, and it's pretty cool. I'm glad that there's an outlet for like just talking about whatever. And if you guys want to
Yeah.
have me back anytime, I'm
Yeah, dude,
welcome to
literally
come.
anytime you can come back. Like, we do not
I
have a
think you
list of guests.
I think you hit the deepest of conversations in all the podcasts we've had so far.
Yeah.
Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I have a lot of research, and I know, I think it's good to talk about stuff, man. I think
Yeah,
that's the good
definitely.
thing about podcasts is being able to just talk about stuff.
Yeah. If you want to, you can totally plug your band's Instagram or your own, or
Yes,
like anything
that's
you
what
want.
that's
Oh
what we're
yeah,
gonna.
yeah. So you can find me at Metallica official. No, I'm just kidding. No, we don't have an Instagram or nothing. We're kind of just word of mouth right now. But if anyone is interested, we are called Embryonic. We're LA based, and we play nothing but Sepultura covers. Yeah, just whenever this whole thing's over, hopefully we can play some shows with you guys, and hopefully we're just trying to put out some live videos here and there when we get the chance. But we're just practicing. We're practicing it as we go, and then hopefully, low key, if it can be high key, probably be debuting with Sons of Eli in the future. But that's kind of just for now. Just yeah. So hopefully it happens.
All right, that sounds good. All right, well,
Sweet.
uh, Sam, Rick, do you want to plug anything?
Well, I mean, I guess in my case, this has been very educational. I think not only for me, but for everybody else. And just to take just to take anything in or everything in that we've heard from this whole thing into anybody's personal band life and stuff like that. I think you learn a lot from this whole episode. So that's what I take from this.
Nice. Rick?
Yeah, it was a fun. What do you call it? Fun, I don't know, podcast. It was tight. It's
All
always
right.
good hearing somebody else's opinion, like outside
Very.
of like your own thing,
Yeah.
but that relates to, like outside of the band, but relates to your band and stuff. It's always tight. But as far as plugging things, if anybody wants like cool custom coasters or like mugs or something like that, I make those. You can follow me on Instagram at Satan's Spawn Designs. It's all one word. Spawn spelled SPAHN. Hit me up there. I got some cool Slayer stuff, some cool mugs, and yeah.
Nice. Nice. All
Thank
right.
you, Larry.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Larry.
thank you guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Happy New Year to everyone. This is like the first episode since New Year.
That's true.
Is
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
shit.
Hey. All right. Well, that's been the end of the episode. Thanks, Larry, and we'll see you on the next one.